Oi, oi, all right, how's it going? I'm Grant, you're you. This is Doodle Review coming through with a new album to give a spin, chat some fraff about, and then assign an arbitrary score to. Today we're looking at GNX by Kendrick, K. Kung Fu Kenny Lamar. This is the surprise sixth studio album by the Compton rapper, dropped completely out of nowhere just a couple of weeks ago, November 22nd. It's kind of a milestone release in Lamar's career for a number of reasons. It's his first album since leaving Top Dog Entertainment, the label that signed him from the beginning when it was itself a completely new entity. The album also serves as a platform for what will be an epic year ahead with the Super Bowl halftime show coming up, and undoubtedly the biggest tours of his career. And of course, it is his first album release since absolutely wrecking long-term rival, long-term lame as shit pop rapper Drake in a historic beef that saw Kendrick drop four singles back to back, most of them charting, with Not Like Us giving him his biggest ever hit and ultimately winning the war. That whole beef was probably one of the most entertaining things to happen in music this year, especially if, like me, you've always disliked Drake and been a huge fan of Kendrick. It was so entertaining. In fact, it feels like Kendrick even managed to make a lot of new fans out of people who've until now maybe written off the highly lauded rapper for being like too heady. And for those new fans in particular, GNX is a real gift. Make no mistake, this surprise release is a total victory lap, unleashing a succession of direct hits and West Coast bops that continue the high energy and intensity Kendrick tapped into in this summer of rap vitriol. I think on that level alone, this album's a winner. To Pimp a Butterfly is a classic. Mr. Morale, incredible. But damn, when those singles dropped this summer, particularly Not Like Us, it was just so good to hear Kendrick really let loose with flows that instantly connect on hooky beats that just bang, and GNX delivers a full album of it. And it's not like every single track here is a no-brainer hit, but there's a bunch like Squabble Up, Hey Now, TV Off, Peekaboo, and they're scattered throughout, and they hit so hard that on a whole album playthrough, it just allows the deep cuts, the reincarnated or the heart part sixes to land quicker than compared to if they were on a record like Mr. Morale, where almost every track demands like a really studious listen. On the production front, all of Kendrick's records honor the West Coast hip hop style, but every album subsequent to Good Kid, Mad City has stretched that faithfulness, if that's even the right word, further. On GNX, though, the bungee cord tying Lamar to that Compton sound has snapped tight and pulled him right back to the heart of the genre. The album not only contains that classic laid back G Funk style, but incorporates subgenres like the Oakland originated hi-fi sound, as well as weaving in the deep, rich vocals of Mexican vocalist Dara Barrera to reflect Los Angeles' rich Latin culture. Kamaya is an artist I've followed for a while, and it was in listening to her mixtapes over the years that I've developed a real fondness for the bouncy and super hooky hi-fi sound, a genre that's defined by its crisp, clean electronic sounds from 808s and 909s that collide with boingy bass synths. It's not a million miles away from New Orleans bounce music, but in place of like repetitive vocal samples, we have the laid back, high octave synth leads of G-Funk. Combining this with Kendrick's dynamic delivery and fondness for, to be honest, like funny voices, it just makes perfect sense and works to devastating effect on the huge bangers Squabble Up and TV Off, but also in a slightly darker way on Hey Now. As I alluded to a bit before, yes, this album is satisfying because it's got those great instant moments, but true to the legacy of K. Dot's best work, it doesn't lack for any depth either. Reincarnated is a wild trip that sees the ever cerebral rapper guide us through this concept of past life regression, weaving a narrative that takes the listener through the three lifetimes. The first two are not spelled out, but over on Genius, people are speculating that verse one is John Lee Hooker and verse two is Billie Holiday, both of which make sense when you kind of trace their stories. And then the third is Kendrick himself. The three verses are tied together by the story of the fallen angel Lucifer, and Lamar ties it all together with a personal conversation with God at the end. Effectively, the song posits that the spirit of Lucifer is reincarnated through these creative artists, with God tempting them with vices like lust, greed, and gluttony each go round. Kendrick seems to suggest that he sees himself in this light, but feels he has the chance to push further towards redemption than his predecessors by resisting temptation and giving back to his community. And this is his driving force. Despite that, he still recognizes, that pride, ego, and an inclination towards conflict are still big vices to overcome. And that's a bit of a messy take on the metaphor, but demonstrates that amidst the bangers here, there's no shortage of like real thought. GNX also acts as a love letter to Compton and LA after looking almost completely inward on his last record. Here, Lamar directs much of his observations and energy towards his community. The album starts with whacked out murals, which uses the vandalism of the mural painted in his honor as the central kind of inspiration, ultimately taking the position that while there are people out there that feel negatively enough to like deface his image, he believes he's doing the right thing with events such as his pop-out show that united rival gangs. And you also have Dodger Blue, which includes the line, "Don't say you hate LA if you don't travel past the 10," a dig at those whose perspective of LA is limited only to Hollywood. We also include multiple features from local talent like Wale, The Sensei, and Siete 7X. I think if I was to level a criticism at Lamar, though, it is that, as far as I know, he's not really addressed the one shot fired by Drake that kind of landed, which is his alleged abuse of his fiance. I think ultimately Kendrick benefited from the fact that he was able to counter Drake with allusions to, deeply nefarious conspiracies relating to alleged sex trafficking, the sensational nature of which kind of distracted audiences away from the sadly all too normal suggestion of domestic violence. I feel like this album presented an opportunity to either straight up deny these allegations while maybe applying some of that wisdom he has to raise awareness of this awful misogynistic issue, or perhaps admit some level of guilt and gesture towards the steps he's taken towards redemption. As fans, we would then need to debate whether the circumstances surrounding any sort of guilt impacts what relationship we want to have with this music going forward. But I just feel that if Kendrick is out here writing songs like Reincarnated, painting himself in a sort of messianic, righteous, and benevolent light, he kind of might need to at least suggest, raising a hand to a woman is not good, not a good thing. That feels like a sour note to end on, but I can't deny that it's been on my mind. Ultimately, though, we can only go by what we know to be true, and without proof, those pot shots from Drake remain just that. And all the while, we have a new Kendrick album that absolutely slaps. I'm going to give this one an 8.0 and knock it on the head. That's just what I think, though. What are you lot saying? Let me know in the comments, and check out the description for links to other reviews that you might be interested in. If you can be asked to do all that, you may as well subscribe. Stick around, share some thoughts, show some love, or just tell some abuse in the comments. And I'll see you in the next video. All right, mate. Take care. Mine, there you go. Cheers. Bye.